Welcome to Washington Policy on the Go. My name is David Bose. I'm the Communications Director for Washington Policy Center. This is the show where we bring our center directors forward to talk about what's happening in the legislature every week, every Tuesday. We try and give you an update on a key area where policy is moving. Today, we're going to cover a number of areas, and we'll do that with our Center for Healthcare Director, Elizabeth New, and also with our Senior Researcher Emeritus, Paul Guppy, will be joining us to talk about a number of different issues and bills that are moving forward in the legislature. So we'll share that with you as well. Again, we come to you every week during the legislative session, every other week outside of the legislative session. We also have, if you would like to come and do a live event with us at our Seattle headquarters, we'll host an open Washington Policy on the Go for the third Tuesday of this month. You can go online at washingtonpolicy.org, hit the events tab, and sign up and register for that. We provide the coffee, you bring your lunch, and just enjoy talking to our center directors and learning about what's happening in the legislature. So again, that's available on our events page at washingtonpolicy.org. Let's start our conversation with Elizabeth New, our Center for Healthcare Director. Elizabeth, one of the things that you've been watching is paid family leave and potential changes to that program and the payroll tax. Tell us what you're looking at and what's happening.
There's a bill right now, let me remember the number, I think it's 5292. And what it will essentially do is ensure that the tax rate for this program will keep growing. You know, the program cannot pay its way. And in addition to finding ways to set the rate different and calculate things differently at different times of the year, which are good, they need to do this because they're seeking the general fund for bailouts when they don't do it the right way. In addition to that, they're proposing to increase the tax rates cap of 1.2%. Right now, we're paying 92 cents for every $100. Workers are paying this to fund this program that cannot pay its way, and that takes money from low-income workers and gives it to people of middle and upper income workers instead.
Well, part of that is going to be just the function of the program, right? So if you get a portion of your salary and you're on the lower end of the income scale, you're probably needing, all of your salary to make it, right? You're going to have to, you can't operate off of 2/3 your salary. You're operating off of everything. And so, by taking the leave, those individuals will not have the time, they won't have the ability to take that time away, even with a certain level of reimbursement. And so they end up subsidizing people that get higher wages than they do.
Yeah, I mean, the wage replacement isn't full, right? So exactly as you say, if you're a lower income worker and you're using every penny to make ends meet and then still don't have enough, you can't take lower pay than you already get. So it rules those people out of the paid family medical leave just by that alone. Secondly, oftentimes paid family medical leave is used for bonding with a child. That means there's two people working, two resources going into it. I worry about all the single parents out there, who are not able to make this happen. And my research has shown that middle and upper income workers are benefiting far more often than those with low incomes. And yet their money is going to people with income that is more, resources that are more, and who are not in need of taxpayer dependency.
So the proposal before the legislature is to remove the current cap on the payroll tax for this program. Was there a proposal for a new cap, or was it kind of open-ended as far as, and is there a cap on the number of payroll taxes we can impose as a state?
There is not a limit on the number we can impose as a state, and that's why it's looking more and more like we have an income tax. 5292, though, this bill to get rid of the cap, I looked at it again this morning, and I need to look closer because it's been a whole week, but I do not see a replacement cap for it. That means it has no upper limit. Okay. And we're already at 92 cents per 100. When this payroll tax was enacted, it was sold as 40 cents per $100. It's already more than double in 5 years.
Okay. And so we could end up, I mean, we've already seen it double once. It's not out of the realm of possibility for more. And then I take it, walk hairs, which, survived the voters last November. Walkers was also on, there was a lot of, the initial examination and audit of Walkers showed that it was not going to be a sustainable program, but then they recalibrated, changed some of the input numbers and assumptions, and they said it was going to be okay after all. I'm wondering, has there been any shift in that as well? Could we be seeing kind of a double whammy in terms of increases on payroll taxes?
Well, every year they have to do an actuarial report that shows where we're at. And right now, the state is actually taking in more money than it expected. So of course, in those committees, you're hearing this news and it's all great news for them because it's more money than they expected right now. However, we're not paying any benefits right now. We haven't seen this thing in action.
Okay.
So, and I think people in 2026 are going to be really surprised to hear what that lifetime benefit covers, what it doesn't, what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do. And just like paid family medical leave, this is the state requiring you to invest and save for one life need at the expense of all the other life needs that you have. I think it's bizarre. But yeah, this walk hairs tax could go up too. It hasn't yet, but it could. And I expect that would happen around payout time, not now while they're preparing.
Yeah, paid family leave. I know people who have used the program. I saw a poll, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember, for the poll, for people who've used it, they liked it. But of course, I mean, if you've got time off, that's going to be a plus. The problem is for the people who are, you're already struggling with inflation, with the rising cost of living, which are no joke, especially in this state, and then to have more of your paycheck taken away. It's a death by 1,000 cuts here, and the cuts are getting deeper, and that's one of the challenges. Another couple of bills, an issue that you've been watching for a period of time has been universal health care, so-called government-only option for health care. Any movement on those proposals this session?
Yeah, there's two bills. Well, a bill and a joint memorial, which makes no difference to you, but joint memorials are considered kind of I call them a letter to the tooth fairy.
Right, we wish.
they're these
Right.
wishes, and the bill would make changes in law. So the one that is the wish list to the federal government to let us have a universal government run taxpayer financed healthcare system in Washington state. It has passed committee and it will move forward. The one that does the actual creation of this kind of program in Washington state has not had a hearing yet. So I think that's good news. Other countries that try universal, not everyone gets care, rationing and wait list happen. So that's the pattern of universal care elsewhere. And we need to be really cognizant of that. This trading one flawed system for another is not a good deal. We need to be finding ways to decrease regulations that have impacts on healthcare costs. Just last week, I was listening to over 5 regulatory mandates on insurance that would come online. If our goal is cost containment of healthcare, this isn't going to do it. We're living longer. Insurance companies can't keep taking on mandate after mandate. We've got to figure this out in a different way. And the free market offers tons of solutions. You look at the Surgery Center of Oklahoma, you look at direct primary care, you look at health savings accounts. These are all promising ways to solve our cost containment problems in healthcare. And instead, the government is fixated right now, the state government, on creating universal health care for all. They have a commission that's set up, a never-ending commission, to find out how we can pay for this. They're seeking waivers from the federal government that in this administration, they're probably not going to get.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me where you have all these examples where, where government doesn't necessarily make the most flexible partner, right? I mean, when there was the big COVID shutdown, you had, for example, drive-in movie theaters that were shut down because you're not allowed to have your business open, which obviously makes no sense. Or water parks that are all outside, surrounded by chlorinated water, telling people you can't do any of these things. And so you had, restaurants that are allowed to go outside and have an enclosed tent with heaters in it, but you can't have food on the inside. All kinds of things that don't really make a lot of sense, but government goes through. Imagine that same government then making decisions for you on your health care, the same one that creates lines at the Department of Motor Vehicles or makes other rules that last, forever. Then making these other decisions, I think when people hear universal health care, it just sounds so wonderful. Like, that's where everyone stays healthy forever. But it's a government control system. And as you pointed out, Elizabeth, and I thought this was key, especially to the state government group that's charged with, advocating for universal health care or government-only health care for Washington State. Other states that are deeply blue, that and by that I mean, they're deeply Democrat controlled, very friendly to this idea. They have experimented with it, and when the price tag showed up, they had to bail. So they spent millions of dollars on the road to implementing it, only to back away because it's just too expensive of an experiment. So Washington
Yeah.
could take a look at those states, and instead of wasting the money to begin with, say, you know what, we got to take this other path and look at ways to reduce healthcare costs and get people to think about, other ways of receiving primary care and paying for healthcare, for real insurance for healthcare, so to speak.
Absolutely. It's interesting to note that in Vermont, despite their being small and progressive, they had more than a dozen financing concepts that showed the only way to set tax rates as low as the officials wanted would mean giving residents skimpier coverage than most of them had wanted than they already had. So, it added that the new estimated cost of the system would have been over $5 billion in 2021. And for context, $5 billion is the state's entire budget for 2012, 2013. So, trading, again, I don't recommend our system of healthcare. I think it's a hybrid system that doesn't work. I think we need free market healthcare as the only way to save us from our healthcare system. But trading this broken system for another broken system that cannot pay its way and that will result in less access to care, less quality, and just as higher bills is not okay.
Reminds me of when I was a kid, I got water in my gas tank, and you're driving around and you sputter and die, and then you gotta get that stuff that takes the water out, pour it in the gas tank so your car will be fixed again. We're kind of like that. We've added water to our gas tank of a healthcare system, and that's government control, government mandates, and other things. This has happened for various reasons since World War II. And it creates disincentives that spiral costs, and we can't seem to get out of it. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, Elizabeth. I know there's just a ton of things happening in the legislature, and all of our center directors are extremely busy. So I want to thank you for that, and we'll see you in a coming episode, I'm sure. You can keep track of Elizabeth's work at washingtonpolicy.org, or if you subscribe to our newsletter, you would have that work delivered to you in your email box every Friday. So thanks, Elizabeth.
Thanks, Dave.